listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
I wanna see the light.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for sharing part of your day with us. My name is Jerry Mitchell, your host for Give God 90. Sitting in her supervisor's seat is Myra.
Good morning, everyone.
I'm not sure who's supervising who this morning, though. Long story. Not time for that right now. We appreciate everyone here. If you're new, we really do thank you for checking us out. You are more than free to visit. I can't talk this morning either. GiveGuide90.com. Check us out there. See what you think. There's some links to some videos that we have on there that a lot of people are beginning to really enjoy. If you like what you hear, we appreciate the like buttons and the shares. If you actually click on the notifications, it helps other people find us as well, because it boosts us up in the ratings. If you so choose, you can leave us a comment either live on the chat that's there, or if you listening to this after it's live, and you can leave a comment there and it gets back to me as well. You can also look us up on, let's see, I don't know how many social media platforms there are now, but we're on a lot of them. If you use Facebook, we are beginning to, I shouldn't say we. I'm beginning to dwindle down on that considerably for a couple of reasons. It's just primarily ease of use, and really there's a growing number of people on Facebook who really don't respond to anything of any type of religion. They've almost formed their own religion in being, not religious, anti-God is a better way to put it, I guess. If that's what they want, they can have it. There are other groups out there who really are working very diligently, attempting to provide social media for believers, and that's where we're going. It's that simple. I walk enough among the unchurched non-believers that I don't need to spend time with social media doing it as well. I guess that's a good way to put that, isn't it? Okay. But today we're going to look at why people are confused. And believers are confused. And like many of you who listen to us, I get confused by some things still. And a lot of, not as much as I used to, but there's some things that I have to go back and look at the basics, usually in Genesis, right? Because just about everything is covered in Genesis. But we go back, we start from scratch, we stick to the fundamentals, and as regular listeners know, I don't stop just at finding something that agrees with what I think. I will dig through the things that disagree with what I think and find out, who's right and who's wrong. Am I thinking not my way, but am I thinking the way the Creator would have me think? Or, am I doing it my way because it sounds good to me? Well, just because it sounds good to me, it might not be what the Almighty has, ideas and concepts for me to do. I may be looking at something wrong. And that's why we go back over and over and over again. And it's one of the reasons that I really enjoy the questions I get from many of you folks out there, because some of you come up with things I've never thought of before, right? Some of you may look at something and say, well, that's interesting, but could it be this? And it causes me to go back and look at it again and again and again. And I really do like that, because it keeps me on top of my game. And it makes me certain that when I bring you something, every I is dotted, every T is crossed, and I try to present it in a way that makes sense. At least it makes sense in my mind. And a lot of times that's why Myra's sitting here, because if she gives me this really confused look, she's not the only one that's confused. Okay? Now, if you've read any of the books that I put out, you realize that I was where some of you may be right now. I was searching, I was looking, I was digging, trying to figure out what's what. But there is a desire when you're going through that to find the truth, and that the only truth that comes directly from the Creator. So when I was asked about some things over the past several months that began to show a bit of a pattern, I spent some time, read a lot of really, really boring articles. There's a lot of papers out there now being put on the internet that are available. And some of these are actually for postgraduate degrees. Some of them are put out by people who have postgraduate degrees so that others can glean from it. They may not be gleaning exactly the way they think they're designed to be gleaned, because when you read them critically, you can pick out what's true, what's not true. You can pick out when they're trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes. You can pick out when they've actually grasped a concept and they don't know how to present it to someone who doesn't. Typically, they're professors. Those are the interesting parts. But there's a lot of stuff out there that, we look at, we read, and it's interesting. There's a lot of postgraduate writing, where people they're writing in their field, and you can tell that they have no grasp of the English language. Some of these are just silly mistakes, but some of these things are worded in such a way that you kind of wonder how they graduated high school. They would have never passed my high school English teacher. I can guarantee you that. And then when we start looking at biblical things where we have to include other languages like Hebrew and Greek, maybe Aramaic, maybe some other languages as well. When you try to mix all of those things together, and then we mix Hebrew grammar with English grammar, and our modern definitions are a little weird, we wind up with some conglomeration of a conundrum that it's like you've painted yourself into a corner, and now how do you get out? And I am convinced now more than ever that language, culture, and history are the keys to understanding the Bible. But we have to use these forensically, not allowing our interpretation or our own desires to interfere with the answers that the Almighty chooses to reveal to us. Excuse me. One of the places we can look is Exodus 3:14. Moses is in front of the burning bush. He's being interviewed for the job of bringing the Hebrew children, Abraham's children, and the mixed multitude out of Egypt. And he says, well, who do I say sent me to them? Not to Pharaoh, but to the Hebrew people. And the Almighty says, Ayeh, Asher, Ayeh. And in English, of course, it's, I am that I am. Now, this is not the Creator's name. That's the Tetragrammaton, the Yud He Vav He. Pronounce it however you will, whether it's Yahweh or Jehovah. There's other pronunciations that are completely wrong. I'm going to say that. If you're going to attempt to if you're going to attempt to understand a Hebrew word, at least leave the English out of it. Things like Strong's, right? Because it's English. Let the people who speak fluent Hebrew translate Hebrew. Okay? Let the history of the language speak. Don't force your concepts, your ideas, and what you think you want into it. When he tells Moses this, excuse me, when he tells Moses this, it's interesting because yeah, it means I excuse me, it means I am, but it's more than that. It's a statement of being. Yeah, they're planting corn out in the field this morning. It's a statement of being. But then he doesn't stop with that. He repeats it. And what it means when he repeats it that way is an ancient Hebrew grammar concept. And it means I am now, I always was, and I always will be. You could almost... There's a better way of saying this in English other than I am, and that is. Because is an existence that never stops. Right? If something is, it always is. The truth is the truth. It always will be. Right? Am I making sense with that? Okay. She's shaking her head yes. So this statement of being that he makes, okay, he didn't tell him, to go back and say my name. He didn't tell them to go back and give anything other than, I am the one who is. That's all he needed to say. They would understand it. See, without any modifiers, even in English, I am is only a state of being. Now, when he says to Moses, I am who I am, he extends it forever on either side of forever where they are, right? Frontwards and backwards. Forward in time, backwards in time. Nothing was ever before, nothing will ever be after. We can compare that to some statements in John's Gospel where Yeshua is speaking. Marty's going to read these 7 I am statements in John.
Then Jesus said, I am the bread that gives life. He who comes to me will never be hungry. He who believes in me will never be thirsty. John 6:35. Later, Jesus talked to the people again. He said, I am the light of the world. The person who follows me will never live in darkness. He will have the light that gives life. John 8:12. So Jesus said again, I tell you the truth. I am the door for the sheep. John 10:7. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives life for the sheep. John 10:11. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will have life even if he dies. John 11:25. Jesus answered, I am the way. I am the truth and the life. The only way to the Father is through me. John 14:6. I am the true vine. My Father is the gardener. John 15:1.
Now the tradition among many Christians is that this proves Jesus is God, because he makes the same statements here. I am, just like God told Moses in Exodus chapter 3. If you're part of the grammar police, you understand the problem with this, all right? These are not simply states of being. These are more. And I'm speaking grammatically here, okay? If I say that I am, that's a statement of being, okay? If I say I am a husband, okay, it changes. That's now a modified statement. Being a husband is different than just being. Now you're looking at something more specific. I've added an adjective. Now, to make the English grammar even more complicated, if I say I am the husband, now I've added a definite article. It's not that I'm just a husband. I am the husband, that particular one. That then becomes a statement of purpose. And that's what we see in these 7 I am statements in John. It's not that it's not a statement that is, it's a statement of what? Purpose. Okay? They're modified. There's more to it. Now, these are attributes that we can attribute to the Father, yes. But it does not mean that, well, it doesn't mean that the Son is equal to the Father. If it meant that the Son was equal to the Father, it would be worded differently. You see, grammatically, this doesn't work, and it makes the people, and I've heard this over and over and over again, it makes the folks who try to project this, that the Son is equal to, or in some cases they elevate the Son above the Father, it makes them sound foolish if you understand it. The way some people present it, it sounds really good. You want it to be, some people want it to be true, but they're two different things. You have a statement in Exodus chapter 3 of is, but you have these statements in John of not is, but what. What is Yeshua? What is Jesus? Well, if you look at John, he's a bread, right? He's the light. He's the door. He's the shepherd. Those are what, not is. They're statements of purpose. And the folks who try to manipulate the English language to make this fit, to make this work, to force their ideas and their concepts into Scripture, this is going to sound bad. But that's okay. You should be used to that by now. It's the same kind of thing when someone attempts to force a grammatical term into biology. Gender is grammatical. It's a term of grammar. Sex is a form or term of biology. Just because people don't want to say sex, they think it's a dirty word, whatever it might be, gender sounds so much better. No, it doesn't. It makes you sound foolish. Okay? It just makes you sound foolish, like you have no idea what you're talking about. Gender's grammar. Sex is biological. If we actually understand these things and use these things, maybe we wouldn't have the next problem that we have that I'm going to look at. And this one, I really, I don't know. I asked this question the other night from some folks, and I don't know exactly when it happened. I can't find, an exact date. I can't find a time period, a time frame. But there's a couple of words that we use interchangeably now that are two different things. And I don't know when. The English words for redemption and salvation have stopped meaning two different things. Now, for some strange reason, they're used interchangeably. And it leads to confusion. Now, I'm going to oversimplify something here, okay? But we can think of redemption like using a coupon. You get a coupon. We either take that piece of paper that the manufacturer provides, or maybe today we get a code that we use on the internet. You type in the code at checkout, and it is provided so that when we purchase an item, it is at a lower cost because the manufacturer has decided the item has less value than the store is selling it for. Right? So they're giving you a little bit back. The end purchaser. If you take an item, now it used to be when I was young, a 5-cent coupon was a lot of money, right? It was a lot.
Yes, it was.
and then they got to the 15 and 20 and 25 cent. When you had a 25-cent coupon, that was like a quarter off the price a lot of times. And then later on, instead of increasing the value of the coupon, they would encourage stores to double the value of the coupon. Right? Well, Christians have a really hard time with this. And the reason is, I think, they actually realize when we sin, we devalue ourselves. When we sin, we no longer belong to the Creator who manufactured us. We belong to the enemy. It's kind of like when a manufacturer sells an item to a retail store. Okay? And then the retail store tries to turn around and make money on it. Are you following my okay. As long as everybody's following my train of thought here. The manufacturer sells his product to a retailer who then tries to make money selling it to other people. Well, Christians who believe that Jesus is the Redeemer should believe that he was offered to purchase them back at a reduced price because they no longer have the same value as they did prior to their sin. Okay? Does that throw you for a loop? I hope. Because once you understand that, you sin, you devalue yourself. It's kind of like damaged goods, right? You're the dented can. So the manufacturer provides a redemption, but he's the one buying you back. But he's buying you back at a lower price. Much like you would use a coupon for. Salvation, on the other hand, is much different. Salvation is not what we have turned it into today. Salvation is not the act of being saved from something. Let me say that again. Salvation is not the act of being saved by something. So when all these folks come to you and say, "Are you saved?" Huh? From what? What do I need to be saved from? Most of the people can't tell you, right? They give you this really blank stare, and some of them, well, eternal damnation. You need to be saved from eternal damnation. Really? Are you sure about that? That's not what it means. That's not what it means at all. Salvation is a gift. Paul had that right. The first time we see salvation in the Bible is when Jacob is telling what will happen. What will happen with his children. And he begins to speak, and he gets down to, he gets down and he says something interesting right after Dan and just before Gad. Let me read Genesis 49:16 through 19.
Dan will rule his own people, like the other tribes in Israel. Dan will be like a snake by the side of the road. He will be like a dangerous snake laying near the path. That snake bites a horse's leg, and the rider is thrown off backwards. Lord, I wait for your salvation. Robbers will attack Gad, but he will defeat them and drive them away.
Now, why in the middle of this would Jacob stop and offer that statement? You know, he's just told Dan, you're gonna be like a snake, right? What is he trying to say to his family? After all, these are the blessings that Jacob's giving to his sons. It didn't sound like much of a blessing in Dan's situation, though, does it? Dan will be like a serpent carrying evil. That doesn't sound like a blessing to me at all. And so Jacob stops and says, I wait for your salvation. In biblical Hebrew, salvation is not necessarily being saved. Or it's not really even being delivered. Instead, listen carefully. In ancient Hebrew, salvation is being offered life. Being given the opportunity for life, not the life that you have right now. Eternal life, everlasting life, the life you were intended to have at the beginning. That's the gift. That's why salvation is a gift. It's not the gift of saving you from something. It's offering you the opportunity for something. Because we are eternal beings by design, living now in a temporary existence because of Adam's sin, and that will end. Jacob is reminding Dan that not all of his offspring need to participate in evil. He's actually reminding them that they don't need to feel hopeless, because there's always hope if we accept the gift of life that is offered only by our Creator. You know, as believers, we have to live in this cursed and weakened world, but we are not predestined to do evil. We have a choice. Moses reminds us later in Deuteronomy of that.
Look, today I offer you life and success, death and destruction. I command you today to love the Lord your God. Do what he wants you to do. Keep his commandments, his rules, and his laws. Then you will live and grow in number, and the Lord your God will bless you in all the land you are going to take as your own. But you might turn away from the Lord. You might not obey him. You might be led to bowing down and serving other gods. I tell you today that you will be destroyed, and you will not live long in the land you are crossing the Jordan River to enter and own. Today I ask heaven and earth to be witnesses. I am offering you life or death, blessings or curses. Now choose life, then you and your children may live. Love the Lord your God, obey him, stay close to him. He is your life, and he will let you live many years in the land. This is the land he promised to give your ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Now, we can and we should choose life. But Moses isn't writing about the life you have right now. He's writing about the life that Jacob was speaking about. Everlasting, eternal life. He's saying choose life. Accept the gift. Much of the reason that the Bible is confusing is because of poor translations, misinterpretations, not understanding the Bible, including its grammar and language, the culture and the history. But when we separate those things out, when we study those things out to the end, we actually begin then to understand what it was for the people who were writing this and for the people who were hearing this for the first time, the way they understood it. Once we give up our own traditions, our own ideas, our own concepts, and when we finally are able to open the book and read it for what's there, we get a completely different picture. I often wonder, our granddaughter was here this weekend and she had to finish up a book report. I don't know if other countries do book reports or not, but in the United States, when you're in school, you have to read a book and then you write this short summary of it. I often wonder what, if we took all the people in the world and made them write a book report on the Bible, how many different ideas we would get. Because I think they'd all be different. But if we were able to allow them to read the book without any preconceived ideas, I bet they would all be the same. So, for what it's worth, think about having to do a book report on the Bible like you've never read it before. What would you say?